This is Markin Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Follow on Twitter. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Marking Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Brennan likes fisting. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. We're marking out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans.
Welcome to Markin Out, Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. This is episode 728. Thanks for listening. Listen more at markinout.com. Check us out on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and also Amazon Podcasts, and wherever else you may be listening to podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating to go with that 5-star frog splash. Buy a t-shirt over at prowrestlingtees.com/markinout. Also, make sure you give us a like on Facebook. Give us a follow on TikTok at Markinout. Give us a follow on Twitter at Markinout. Give us a follow on Instagram at Markinout11. And you can follow me, Dave the Rave, on all social media platforms at DavidPTDPT. Chris at Chris Sweendog and CM Sweeney85. That is on Twitter and then Instagram. And you can follow Brandon on all social media platforms at BTTG161. That being said, Brandon, how are you?
I am doing awesome as always. I did not really do anything this week. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Did you do anything or no?
No, I did not.
Well, before we move over to Monday Night Raw, we wanted to mention the passing of Bob Uecker, who passed away this week at the age of 90. He played for the Milwaukee Braves, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Philadelphia Phillies. But it was when he worked as a broadcaster for the Milwaukee Brewers that he really shined. And in 2003, he was inducted to the National Baseball Hall of Fame for his broadcasting. He was known for his humor. He was a frequent guest on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson dubbed him Mr. Baseball. He was in, I think, all of the major league movies. He was on the TV show Mr. Belvedere. Mm-hmm. He hosted Saturday Night Live. He made cameos as himself or versions of himself on shows like Futurama and Monsters at Work. In 1987, he appeared at WrestleMania 3 and served as the guest ring announcer for Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. He would return the next year at WrestleMania 4 to do announcing, commentating, backstage interviews, where I think probably his most famous moment in WWE was that interview with Andre the Giant, where at the end, Andre puts his hands around his neck and chokes him.
So, yeah, everybody remembers that move.
And then in 2010, he was inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame by Dick Ebersol, who told a story about how they got Bob Uecker part of WrestleMania. Vince had wanted it, and Uecker was like, nah, I don't really want to do it or whatever, or he wasn't answering. And Dick Ebersol was really good friends with Bob Uecker. And he says they were in, was it Detroit for WrestleMania 3? The Pontiac, or Michigan, I guess.
He asked me as if I know.
Well, Michigan. Pontiac Silverdome, brother.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, let's go here and take a flight here to him wherever he was in the off season. And Vince was like, "Wow, we don't have any clothes." And he's like, "I'll take care of everything." So they go to a costume shop because Uecker would pop for that, I guess. And he gets 3, I guess, cartoonish versions of a Michigan football player outfit. And Vince is like, "Why 3? Why 3 outfits?" And it turns out that he called Jesse Ventura to also meet them. I think it was in Phoenix, to where Bob Uecker was, and they get there, they call up to his room, and he, I guess, didn't believe it, and then the bartender was like, no, they're here. So that pushed along that relationship between WWE and Bob Uecker.
Yeah, I really know him more so from the Major League movies. Definitely a commentator that that transcended more outside of that broadcasting booth than, in my opinion, any other broadcasters. Breaking the barriers into the movies and then into pro wrestling, even the Hall of Fame. So definitely a loss for all, and our condolences to all friends and family.
Yeah. So we did have Monday Night Raw this week, which kicked off with CM Punk pulling up, and I have to say right off the bat, the car horn scared the absolute heck out of me. When he was entering the arena, I wasn't prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
But he had the fans eating out of his hands in this segment. And he spoke about being done with Seth Rollins. He spoke about the Royal Rumble, John Cena. And he said, hit my music. And then Seth Rollins came out and he said that last week was, I don't know if he said probably or whatever, the worst loss of his career. And he declared for the Royal Rumble. And then Drew McIntyre showed up and they all went back and forth to where it looked like we were going to see Seth Rollins and CM Punk kind of team up against Drew McIntyre. McIntyre ends up leaving. And he said that Roman Reigns is playing chess. Everyone else is playing checkers. I need to step up for the locker room. And then he also declared for the Royal Rumble. I thought we were going to see maybe we would see Drew McIntyre attempt to go to the ring, and then boom, Gallus shows up and aligns with Drew McIntyre, attacks CM Punk and Seth Rollins, but
for the record, Brandon does not do drugs.
Why would you
even think that is such a Mark Dreams?
What do you mean? That's like a very good possibility.
No way.
100% that's a good possibility.
Way at all. It would make absolutely no sense.
Yeah, you say that now. Seth Rollins is facing Drew McIntyre next week. What if that happens then?
Well, it didn't happen then when you said it was, and it didn't happen with CM Punk's involvement either.
I mean, who knows? But Seth Rollins, by the way, also had words with Sami Zayn questioning if he's still helping Roman Reigns or helping himself.
Mm-hmm.
So that gave Sami Zayn some stuff to think about. But the very first match of the night on Monday Night Raw, we saw the official debut of Penta pick up the victory over Chad Gable. Penta got a huge reaction. People did the Cero Miedo. It was so trippy seeing this. I figured Michael Cole was going to mention AAA and TNA as part of the background of Penta. I did not have Lucha Underground on my bingo card.
Mm-hmm.
I also popped at Michael Cole mentioning Grand Apache, who trained Penta. But there were some mishaps in this match, but I was on cloud 9 watching this.
I agree with you. I think something I want to start off with is that they released his merchandise at 11 a.m. roughly.
Yeah.
Online, and people were joking around saying how whoever scheduled it is definitely getting fired because they probably intended to set it at 11 p.m. instead of a.m.
11 p.m. would not have made sense for a tweet like that.
EST, I'll also add to clarify.
Okay. That still doesn't matter. That doesn't make sense. That time wouldn't make sense for that.
But even still, it was kind of funny how I think it was Michael Holt made reference to it saying the world's worst kept secret.
Yeah.
In regards to Penta, because everybody knew at that moment with the merchandise that he was. I mean, we knew last week that he was coming.
Yeah, his name, it said Penta.
Yeah, it legit said Penta.
I mean, it was his mask for weeks, so we knew it.
Exactly.
Anyway.
We knew he was coming, but the release of the merchandise kind of confirmed that he was the opponent for Gable, but it worked out in the favor because you know what? It got so many people to want to sit there at that time to tune in to see him in action. I think it was great that they kicked off Monday Night Raw with him in a matchup. Kicked off match-wise, not outside of the scrum, the verbal battle that took place beforehand. But match-wise. I think that the entrance was fire. I think that I like the theme song.
Yeah, a lot of people were complaining about that theme song. I thought it was fine.
Yeah. Some people are saying
I would have preferred if it had words to it, other than the Cero Miedo, but I was fine with that.
Yeah, I think that's okay. I think that is totally okay with what they had. I think that no words, I'm fine by it. I think that the pyro, they set him up to be made to be viewed as a superstar. They had his family in the front row crying. They had him just... I think it was incredible. I like that they had Gable on the mic during the commercial break, even before he came out. And then once he got into the ring, like you said, there was a few parts where you're like, okay, slow it down. Got to get used to the ring.
Also, by the way, the rope spot, they have different ropes in most every other promotion than WWE.
Yeah, more loose, I think, right?
They use real rope.
Yeah, somebody was saying
use cables.
Yeah, somebody was saying on Busted Open, I forgot who, maybe Bully, or it was either Bully or Tommy Dreamer, suggested for that move that for one of his moves that instead of going into the middle of the rope, like you have turnbuckle to turnbuckle, instead of going into the dead center between those turnbuckles to do a move, that he may have to start to do some of his moves closer to the turnbuckle because the rope is more stable closer to the turnbuckle, and when you get to the center, has a little bit more give to it. So I feel like we've seen somebody do a bottom rope move near the center before, though. It's possible, but it would be interesting to see if he does shift to a turnbuckle for like that leg drop, which it looked like it did look a little bit loose on the move. So it'll be interesting to see if he does shift that to closer to a turnbuckle. I thought Gable was great. Okay, so what do you think about that initial Cero Miedo that he attempted and then Gable interrupted? I liked it a lot.
Yeah, that was the perfect way to start the match.
That's what
it perfectly sets up everything that it sets up the fact that if you don't know Penta, you saw him do it during his entrance. Now you're seeing him do that right before the match starts, and now it gets interrupted. So you're pushed to hate whoever interrupts that.
Yeah, I was seeing on Twitter and even on Busted Open, they were saying that they don't think that was the best idea, that they would have had him do it. But I disagree. I think that was a great idea to have Gable stop it. I mean, everybody in the crowd, for the most part, it seemed like the crowd knew what to do during that moment.
Yeah.
And to break up that, like you said, to put such heat on Gable, and the way that they worked together, I thought that it was smooth. I thought that the German suplexes that was Gable on the ring apron was really incredible. The aerial maneuvers that Penta was doing, I thought that it wasn't... I thought that it looked like he started to get into the groove of everything as the match took place, and this was a very, very long match. I was surprised at the length of this matchup.
I liked the selling of the Mexican Destroyer from Chad Gable.
Fantastic.
Gable kicked out of that. Penta was able to hit the sacrifice, and then he won the match with the Penta driver. Like I said, or I don't think I said this, but I think this was a great introduction to WWE for Penta, to people that don't already know him. And then Jackie Redmond interviewed him afterwards. He takes the mic, such a heel move. Did they mention that on Busted Open?
No, they did not mention him taking the microphone as a heel move at all.
But Penta said that this is his new home. He's been waiting for this moment. And I thought that was the perfect promo as well.
I agree. I think that it was really perfect. Something that I didn't know or I didn't catch, Bully Race brought it up. He said that something about... he gave a lot of credit for Gable for switching up to work Penta's style more so, but also something about working the right side of the body instead of the left side of the body. I wasn't sure. I don't know if you knew about what he was talking about. I guess Penta...
Mexico uses reverse.
So what does that mean? Like when you hit the ropes?
I guess, yeah. I can't explain it. I'm not a pro wrestler, but basically it's reverse in Mexico.
So like when if you're running into the ropes to take the rope, if I Irish whip you and you go into the ropes, instead of turning to the... I feel like I always see everybody turning to the right instead of the left.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't say for fact. I just know that something is different in Mexico.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I like how I can't say. I definitely can't say overseas. Over in other places, that just the style of wrestling changes so much. I thought that was very interesting. I did not catch that at all, but now I'm going to be intensely trying to pay attention to that stuff, because I would have never even thought about it being a different style. But overall, fantastic promo, incredible, and special moment for Penta. Welcome to the WWE. A star is born. And he got his picture with Triple H already.
A star is born. I feel like that's a bigger star is shining brighter.
Yeah, and he got his Triple H pointing picture in the Cero Miedo picture.
Yeah.
So, but next up, you had Sheamus pick up the victory over Ludwig Kaiser. You got the Shillelagh action involved as well, which I feel like their entire feud is, you need the Shillelagh in there.
You had Daniel Cormier and Braun Breaker sitting there.
Yeah.
Very hard-hitting match, though.
Oh, yeah.
Sheamus,
it lived up to everything.
Kaiser at one point mocked Sheamus with the beats of his chest before going for a running move, and Sheamus ducked that, hits the bro kick, picks up that victory. Very entertaining match between the two of them. And then Braun Breaker stood up afterwards. They went face-to-face, and Braun pushed him. The referee held Sheamus back, but that match we get set for the Intercontinental Championship, I believe, at Saturday night's main event. Braun Breaker versus Sheamus. Is he going to, like, how many times is Sheamus going to get a chance at the Intercontinental Championship and not win?
I agree. And I mean, yeah, I feel like I'm always going to be a fan of Sheamus. No matter what.
After that, we saw Gunther come out. He was not impressed with the in-ring stuff from last week. And then Jey Uso interrupted, and he said that he's looking for someone to face for the championship. If you're looking for someone to face for the championship, it's me. And he challenged him for Saturday night's main event, which Gunther said that match is going to expose Jey Uso for being a really good tag team wrestler, which had Jey Uso fired up. So that match gets set up for Saturday night's main event as well. I don't think Jey Uso's walking out as champion, but if they wanted to do a little throwback with Goldberg costing Gunther the championship, I would not hate that.
I wouldn't hate that, but I need Gunther to win.
I mean, if it gets us Gunther versus Goldberg or something like that, instead of without the championship being on the line, and we get Jey Uso as the World Heavyweight Champion, I'm 100% fine with that.
What do you think about Gunther not having a match on Raw tonight or last week? Do you like being the champion? Do you think next week he definitely needs a match on Raw?
No, he's the champion. Roman Reigns has gone months without matches.
All right. I'm just curious. Next up, you have the Intercontinental Championship on the line in the finals. Lyra Valkyria taking on Dakota Kai. Valkyria picking up the victory over Dakota Kai in a hard-kicking match.
The video that they aired before that was really good, too.
Agreed.
Bayley sat there watching this. It was nice to hear Michael Cole mention China and Double J on commentary. in regards to the Intercontinental Championship and how the only other time a woman has held the Intercontinental Championship, it was China. But I think Lyra and Dakota Kai killed it in this match. That suplex, I feel like an unexpected spot. That suplex from Lyra Valkyria off the apron, I thought that was crazy. I thought that was really well done. Dakota Kai kicked out of the diving leg drop. Then she hit the GTK, but Lyra Valkyria rolled out of the ring. So both of them, I know Lyra is like on off about whether or not she's using that diving leg drop as a finisher. It to me, that made it look like both of them escaped each other's finisher for that. So I like that. But Lyra ends up hitting that Nightwing to pick up the victory. I really did think that Dakota Kai was going to be the one walking out as the champion, but I'm happy either way. I think, like I said, this was a very well done match between both of them. So I have zero complaints, and I like that Dakota Kai showed respect afterwards. Triple H even tweeted, like, this isn't the end, like, and he put Dakota Kai over.
I totally agree with you. I think that they did an incredible job. I think that the way that they sold the matchup, I think that the presentation of the match was really good too.
The only other thing that I understand people complaining about, and I feel like it could have also had more time. I went and looked up the U.S. Championship match with Chelsea, and I think it's around the same amount of time. So I get people complaining, but I also feel like they could have added more time as well. So, but I'm not going to complain about it because what they did in the match itself was really good.
Agreed.
After that, Sami Zayn picked up the victory over The Miz. We found out earlier that the Wyatt Six had been moved in that trade window to SmackDown. And then Miz kind of ran his mouth and he acted as if Karrion Kross was going to have his back. And Kross was like, you're on your own. And he left. Miz, I feel like Miz did control some of this match, but when he played up to the crowd, Sami Zayn took over. He hit the haluva kick out of nowhere and then actually used the Blue Thunder Bomb to pick up that win. I don't know if that was done to make Miz look weaker or what, but
it was nice to see him pick up the victory with the Blue Thunder Bomb, though.
But what do you think? Does that make Miz look weaker? Do you think they did that on purpose or what? Considering Sami Zayn doesn't normally win with a Blue Thunder Bomb?
No, I don't think it makes him look weaker. I'm okay with that.
After that, we had Rhea Ripley come out where she was interrupted by Nia Jax, who said she'll be winning the Royal Rumble and take whatever title she wants. She addressed Tiffany Stratton, she addressed Rhea Ripley, she addressed Bayley, who, like I said before, was sitting ringside. Bayley ends up hopping the barricade and told Nia Jax to say it to her face. Nia pushed the absolute heck out of Bayley. And then she shoved Rhea. Rhea ends up headbutting Nia Jax. Nia Jax comes back with a bigger headbutt than what Rhea Ripley did. Then Bayley took Nia Jax's knee out, hit her with the oh no, she just hit her out of the ring, I think. Rhea Ripley hit Nia Jax out of the ring. So I think that was a good way to get Bayley in front of her hometown crowd. And Bayley also had her eyes on that championship when she was looking at Rhea Ripley's shoulder.
Yeah.
There is that trade window, so who knows?
That's true. And I liked her entrance. I thought that it was really good. I think that Nia Jax is a good fit for Monday Night Raw.
Which we still don't know if that's going to be a thing, but
true.
Main event saw Damian Priest pick up the victory over Finn Balor in a street fight. Earlier, Liv Morgan had told Dominic that she wasn't angry with him, and then she, I guess passive aggressively made Dom get the car, get ready for later. But Damian Priest came out. He had the Puerto Rico kendo stick. Finn Balor showed up from behind with his own kendo stick, and they brawled in the crowd. Damian Priest ended up hitting that broken arrow from the crowd over the barricade off of the platform that he was standing on through a bunch of tables. And they stretchered Finn Balor off, and Damian Priest wasn't satisfied. He ends up going to where they have the stretcher with Finn Balor. Judgment Day show up. He takes out Carlito. He takes out JD McDonough. And then he attacked Finn Balor more. And he sent Finn Balor rolling down that ramp perfectly. That stretcher lands, and Finn Balor perfectly rolled so smoothly into the ring. And I don't know how you could even plan for something like that, but that was very smooth.
That was just incredible. The fact that he was able to just roll right into the ring as if nothing. It was so smooth.
Yeah, but he went for that south of heaven, and Carlito hit the backstabber. JD McDonough jumped in, and they took off Finn Balor's neck brace so he could hit the coup de grace. Damian Priest kicked out. Then you have the War Raiders come out and take out JD McDonough, take out Carlito. Damian Priest eventually hit that south of heaven while he had a chair wrapped around his own neck. Finn Balor kicks out of that. And then Finn Balor set Damian Priest on a table outside, hits the coup de grace off the apron, through the table. You see Damian Priest put Finn Balor through a barricade. He hits a razor's edge through another table that was set up ringside. And then one more time in the ring, he hits the south of heaven to pick up that win.
What do you think about the neck brace part?
Like, why they took it off and...
Like,
in what regard?
I don't know how I feel about them going the entire, we're going to put a neck brace on you and stretch you out part.
Well, that's precautions. And then it shows where the Judgment Day, where, like, they don't care. He's stronger than that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was fine. They ended Monday Night Raw 30 minutes early, so that was nice. But I feel like we still could have gotten more time added to that women's match.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people complained about Penta going overtime, and which makes no sense because they're on Netflix, and then they ended 30 minutes early. It
was a well-paced episode.
Yeah, and I'm fine with the way, like, if we get an out that's at 10:30 some nights it's 11. As long as it doesn't go past 11, I'm fine, but I'm fine. So
hey, if they want to keep on going with 10:30, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah. So that's Monday Night Raw. Moving over to NXT. Kicked off with the new NXT champion, Obafemi. And he said that he was backed by destiny when he's won everything. The earlier stuff in his career, the North American Championship, the NXT Championship. He called Eddie Thorpe a rat and a cockroach. And he wanted to send a warning to Eddie Thorpe, but Tony D'Angelo interrupted. And he said that he's the one who's defeated Obafemi. And when he decides to challenge him for the NXT Championship, he'll walk out with 2 titles. So he kind of did what Obafemi did previously. Where Obafemi said, "You're only champion because I let you be champion," to Trick Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ridge Holland showed up with a picture of him as Santa Claus standing over Tony D'Angelo. Tony went to brawl with him to the back, which continued throughout the night. From behind, Eddie Thorpe showed up with a strap and attacked Obafemi. I feel like that's, like, clearly got to set up some sort of strap match, but I don't know because Obafemi went to Ava after that and said if Eddie Thorpe wants a title shot, just give him the title shot. And she's like, "I'm not rewarding Eddie Thorpe." And then he threatened Robert Stone and said that if he wants Eddie Thorpe, he'll have Eddie Thorpe. And Ava agreed, so it seems like it's going to be a normal match, but that setup, I feel like it always sets up with, if you're going to try to hit somebody with a belt or a strap or something, how does that not set up a strap match?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just thoughts, not to jump ahead, but AEW did that this week as well. Swerve used the chain and then they just set up a regular match. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
But
what
after that, we had Shotzi.
Oba? What did you think about Oba's breaking a voice?
That's just funny.
I think it's interesting how the IWC or whatever was really blowing up over it at times.
People don't realize that that's not a real accent. I've seen people get called racist over talking about his accent not being real.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, but it's not real.
I gotta be honest with you, I didn't know it was a fake accent.
Well,
I did not know that.
it's out there. There's that original NXT promo. It's out there, so.
Yeah.
But after that, we saw Shotzi Blackheart pick up the victory over Stephanie Vicor to become the number one contender for that North American Championship. I was surprised by this outcome, but which everyone was like trashing WWE for this, I guess. Like, how dare they have Stephanie Vicor lose to Shotzi, of all people? Not that they just went through what I thought was a good match. I like their pins. I like their submissions, their reversals in this match. But more importantly, JC Jane ran down, attacked both of them, or tried to attack both of them. They attacked her. Fallon Henley, though, smacked Stephanie Vicor with the championship. And Shotzi won off of that. It's not a clean victory for Shotzi there. And Shotzi didn't look happy that she won in that manner. And then you had Stephanie Vicor going all over the backstage area looking for Fallon Henley. So it's very clearly not over between Stephanie Vicor and Fallon Henley.
I don't know.
After that, Kalani Jordan, she was feeling down on herself. And Cora Jade said that if it wasn't for Kalani Jordan, she'd be the number one contender. And then she started running her down, and Kalani Jordan snapped. She slapped the heck out of Cora Jade. And then later on, we get this match where Cora Jade picks up the victory over Kalani Jordan. Big surprise. Masha Slamovich, the TNA Knockouts champion, is sitting ringside for this. That was unexpected. And when I'm watching NXT, I thought, like, oh, this is a good sign for the relationship between TNA, because outside of Joe Hendry winning an end of the year award, we really haven't seen TNA and NXT recently. They announced a huge thing this week where they're going to have, like, I guess, continue the partnership, but now it's official. And they aired a promo for TNA Genesis where it ends with NXT's logo being part of TNA Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what will be part of that, but come Genesis, I'm sure we're going to find out, obviously.
Yeah, it's just huge news.
I hope it gets us TNA stuff in the video games. I've been saying that for months now.
Mm-hmm.
This is just like a solidification, though. I really hope.
Yeah.
I hope it's not going to be like some Persona card gimmick where it's like impossible to get a TNA AJ Styles or something like that.
I hope it's something incredible.
And it'd be awesome to get a 6-sided ring. I don't know if they could figure that out or not, but that'd be awesome. This match itself, I thought, was pretty even. At one point, though, Kalani, again, kind of snapped. She beat the heck out of Cora Jade here. She was not listening to the rules. And she was not listening. The referee was backing her up, and Cora Jade ends up thumbing her in the eyes, hits that DDT to pick up the victory. Cora Jade also kind of eyeing down that Knockouts championship. Perhaps that's what we'll see.
I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I can't see that happening, but I can see the match happening for sure. I mean,
with it being official, an official partnership like blows everything else out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
We had backstage Ethan Page bragging about his interaction from last week with The Rock. He did some Rock stuff on Dante Chen and said he can smell the jealousy in the locker room, which turned into a challenge where I thought maybe Dante Chen would get the upset here, but Ethan Page won the match. He attacked Dante Chen beforehand, which fired Dante Chen up, and Dante Chen controlled the beginning of this match. But Ethan Page rocked him with the twist of fate, picked up the victory. He attacked Dante Chen after the match, and he took his boot off, smashed it into the ring steps. And then Javon Evans eventually ran down and attacked Ethan Page, but Ego popped him in the jaw. And then he started bleeding again. So maybe that crushed throat gimmick with the chair wasn't actually his throat, and perhaps it was just something in his jaw or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
After that, we had Metaphor pick up the victory over the Unholy Union to become the new number one contenders for the Tag Team Championships. I think Metaphor killed it in this match.
I think Metaphor definitely deserves this number one contendership.
Yeah, and I liked also in this match Unholy Union doing a very good job at keeping Lash Legend from tagging out. They had constant tags. They kept pushing that 5 count. I was a bit surprised at one point when Jakara got tagged in. It seemed like it was a setup for a hot tag spot, and then it wasn't a hot tag. And they went for the move where Jakara stands on Lash's shoulders. She got knocked off. They eventually did hit that crossbody onto both of them, but this was a chaotic match at times. I feel like the referee could have done more to get them out of the ring. But when Alba Fire went and put her up for that finisher of theirs, she didn't realize there was a blind tag there. Mm-hmm. Or not even, I guess, technically blind tag to her. Because Jakara, she had her up for the Gory Bomb. Lash Legend tagged in. And that's how they took over and won the match. And overall, like I said, it was very entertaining.
I agree. I think that it was very entertaining. I don't know where I see the Unholy Union, but I definitely see a lot coming from Metaphor. And I think that they could actually win the championships.
If they're going to win the championships, there has to be something where Jade Cargill returns and something happens there.
Uh-huh.
To, I guess, cost Naomi the match or something like that. I don't know. We don't know who took Jade Cargill out.
We're going to find out.
Earlier in the night, we saw DIY backstage, and they spoke about Fraxium and how they hear how Fraxium is the best team in NXT history, but they're the best in the world, so they're just there to watch them. You also had Josh Briggs and Inamura speak to Fraxium before their match. They got cut off by OTM. Briggs wants a title shot. OTM obviously still wants their title shot. And they were they said that if you want a title shot, you should be speaking to us instead of Fraxium. And that turned into a brawl. And then OTM still made it out there for their match. Fraxium picked up the victory to retain. But I thought this was a fine match.
I thought it was a good match. I think that OTM made it believable at times that they could actually win the championships. And I thought that this was very entertaining. Fraxium, it took me a long time, but they are very entertaining. I just don't know how long they're going to retain the championships. I think it's a lot of fun because they have a lot of tension at times during their matches between each other. And it makes you question whether or not they...
Not in this match, though.
No. Not in this match. They were on the same page, but I like the aspect that you just don't know. It's not always predictable with them.
But I definitely didn't think that OTM would win this match, so that to me was I don't want to say obvious, but obvious. And then earlier in the match, earlier in the night, during the number one contender tag team match, they did that spot where the two illegal competitors break up the pin by just brawling onto the pin. And I've grown to absolutely hate that spot. In this match, Fraxium both had submissions locked in. And I think it was Nima that ended up hitting a move to Nathan Fraser onto Axiom to break it. And that I thought was cool. It's just, like, it's different than all 4 competitors ending up in a brawl together at the same time or something like that. So I like that aspect of it being different than the spot that I've grown to absolutely not like.
Mm-hmm.
But Price cleared off the commentary table. Nathan Fraser ended up hitting a frog splash and putting him through that. And then Axiom hit the Spanish Fly in the golden ratio to Bronco Nima to pick up that victory. And then that was that. DIY was watching this match, knowing that we're probably going to be seeing DIY versus Fraxium, I think is dope.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for that. And then after that, an SUV pulled up and somebody got out. And people were like, who could it be? Who could it be? People were like, oh, it's got to be Corey Graves. I'm like, that ain't Corey Graves. Obviously, it turned out to maybe not be a work with Corey Graves showing how displeased he was being moved to NXT.
Which is like very... To me, I feel like this is all storyline. Everything that's taking place with
I can't believe it to be a real thing.
Yeah, I think that Corey Graves is way too professional to do so. Plus, with everything, even with Carmella, with the treatment of Carmella and everything like that, I feel like he wouldn't jeopardize Carmella's relationship with WWE either. I feel like it's all a work.
Here's hoping it is.
No, but I mean, here's to hoping maybe this is going to lead to him getting in the ring again. I mean, he said in the tweet how I guess maybe he is medically cleared.
I think he's been medically cleared for years.
Right? That's kind of like what I got, like how he could wrestle, but he's being told that he can't. So maybe he gets a shot back in the ring. I feel like by this time, I don't even remember how he was in the ring, but I remember thinking that he reminded me of like a newer version of CM Punk back then.
Yeah. But to close out NXT, you had Roxanne Perez show up, and she spoke about how she made history in WWE, and that's all she's ever wanted to do. And she made a women's division that could main event. And then she said that the state of the women's division without her as champion is sad. And nobody's going to be able to love that division more than she loved the division. And without her, that division's going to be lost. And NXT doesn't deserve her. Here, I thought she was going to be declaring for the Royal Rumble. I kind of feel like if she was to do that, then maybe she would have to win that, given everything she had said prior to what I thought was going to say, I'm entering the Royal Rumble. But Bayley interrupted and told her to adapt and grow from this situation. She was the one that pulled up in that SUV. And Roxanne was like, I didn't ask for your advice. And she compared Bayley to Natalya and CM Punk being these veterans giving out advice. And Bayley was like, you've asked me for advice for years. And the division, without you being champion, is going to be just fine. And it led to a brawl that cut off. CW cut it off during the brawl. Intentional, I have no idea, but it gets people to be like, I want to see more of this.
Yeah, it makes you want to tune in. And I'm just going to say it. I am happy. I don't even remember the last time Bayley was on NXT. It's been a long time. But it's good to see her and Perez square off. Maybe they interact with each other in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll have to, I guess, technically put a pin in that. Moving to SmackDown, which kicked off very interestingly. They had the Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore walk from the back through the crowd to go over the show. It's not something I'm opposed to seeing, but I hope it's not something every week. But the first segment opens with Rey Mysterio. They were in San Diego, so Rey opened the show, and he declared for the Royal Rumble. He mentioned that when he won the Royal Rumble, he did it for a friend, alluding to Eddie Guerrero. Then Kevin Owens interrupted and said that there's nobody in this business that he respects more than Rey Mysterio. And then he put himself over as the true WWE champion. And one thing that he wants before his career is done is a one-on-one match with Rey Mysterio. So he hopes Rey Mysterio wins the Royal Rumble so Rey could potentially choose him to face for that WWE championship. Rey then said that Kevin Owens isn't champion, but if he beats Cody Rhodes at the Royal Rumble, and he also wins the Royal Rumble, then he will consider it or something. Kevin Owens got pissed off at that and went to attack Rey. Rey ducked it. Kevin Owens got away before a 619. Nick Aldis ends up setting up a match for the night. He also tried to get Cody and Kevin Owens to sign a new contract for their match of the Rumble with an addendum added. Neither wanted to sign it without the other signing it first, but I'll put a pin in that. Later on, Kevin Owens picked up the victory over Rey Mysterio. Victoria sat ringside for this, which was cool to see her. It was also funny. She was booing Kevin Owens. But also, I liked Rey Mysterio's Padres gear. I thought that was pretty cool. I enjoyed this match. I definitely expected the outcome. But I liked the stuff that they did. Rey Mysterio hit that sunset flip from the top rope. Followed it up with the code red. He eventually hit a 619 and went to go up to the top rope for the frog splash. Kevin Owens stumbled into the referee, which crotched Rey. And then Kevin hit the pop-up powerbomb to pick up that win. I thought that was a very interesting and well-done way to, even though we can assume Kevin Owens did that on purpose, we don't know that he did it on purpose. And it was a good way to keep it making it look like Kevin Owens didn't cheat to win. And then Kevin helped Rey Mysterio up afterwards to shake his hand. And then went to rock him with that package pile driver. Cody made the save. They brawled. And I thought for sure Nick Aldis would come out right then and there and make them both sign the contract. But he spoke to Cody and set up the signing for Saturday night's main event, with Shawn Michaels being the moderator for it. We saw Bianca Belair and Naomi pick up the victory over Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. Naomi, before the match, asked Bianca Belair to put her ponytail up this week, so what happened last week doesn't happen again. They also discussed Jade Cargill. I think that was probably done to make it look like potentially one of them is guilty of taking out Jade Cargill. But I thought this match was good. At one point, Nia Jax ripped Naomi off the apron to prevent a hot tag. Belair eventually gets in. Naomi, I feel like she really didn't do much during that tag spot, but Candice LeRae got a blind tag. They used that to their advantage on Bianca Belair. Nia Jax, though, accidentally hit a leg drop on Candice LeRae. And Naomi got tagged in. She hit a Bubba Bomb and picked up that victory. Jimmy Uso picked up the win over Carmelo Hayes via disqualification. Carmelo spoke beforehand about Roman Reigns and Jey Uso both having stuff and Jimmy not having anything to do with the Royal Rumble. And I like this match. I like that Jimmy started the match off with Carmelo's sunglasses on. Later on, he went for an Uso splash. Carmelo hit him with the first 48 to reverse that. I thought that was good. He went for nothing but net, but Jimmy got out of the way and hit a super kick. And then he ends up running into Jimmy hits a spear on Carmelo Hayes. Goes up for an Uso splash. Jacob Fatu showed up. Tama Tonga shoved him off the top rope. They beat Jimmy Uso down. Carmelo Hayes tried to buddy up with him after that. And they took him down too. And then Solo Sikoa came out. People booed him. He didn't say anything. He just left. Jacob Fatu took the mic, cut one hell of a promo. And he said he's just getting started. LA Knight ran down to attack both of them from behind. Kind of stupid on his behalf, but he held... I mean, it wasn't long, but he held his own. The Bloodline eventually took over. Braun Strowman made the save. That gets set up for Saturday night's main event. Motor City Machine Guns picked up the victory over Los Garza. this was a very solid tag team match. That gory special with the reverse blockbuster from Humberto and Angel, I thought was very well done. That other double team move that they did with the Enziguri, the springboard, I thought that was great. But Pretty Deadly showed up, and when Humberto had a pin on, I forget, maybe it was Chris Sabin, the referee was distracted. So Motor City Machine Gun was able to escape that, hit the Skull and Bones to pick up that win. DIY questioned them about it later. And Ciampa called Pretty Deadly a joke and said that if they want a title shot, they better become men. And then Johnny Gargano gave them like maybe an easier pep talk about what happened. And Apollo Crews showed up and made fun of Pretty Deadly, basically saying, "I told you so." And Johnny Gargano ran back and attacked Apollo Crews. We saw Piper Niven pick up the victory over B-Fab. This stemmed from a backstage segment with Mia Yim and Chelsea Green. So I was kind of surprised that Mia Yim wasn't out there with B-Fab. But B-Fab controlled a lot of this match. Piper Niven ends up hitting her with the senton. She hits the Michinoku driver. And then Chelsea and Piper Niven went to beat down B-Fab after the match, and Mia Yim made the save. But it was because of Chelsea's distraction when she got back into the ring that Piper was able to hit that senton. So it was nice to see B-Fab wrestle again. I like that the Dungeon, Natty and Tyson Kidd got a shout out during this. We saw a return vignette for Charlotte Flair. A very well done return vignette for Charlotte Flair. And then on to the main event. Tiffany Stratton picked up the victory over Bayley to retain the championship. We all know what happened on NXT, and I think everybody should have expected for Roxanne Perez to show up. And she ended up sitting ringside for this. I'll put a pin in that. And I liked some of this match. They went outside of the ring way too many times for me. Like a crazy amount of times. I didn't get that at all. I did like Bayley hitting the Bayley to belly on the outside. I liked Bayley hitting that hangman suplex to Tiffany Stratton off the commentary table outside. But the amount of times that they went outside the ring, for me, took away from the match. Bayley ends up hitting another Bayley to belly inside the ring. Tiffany Stratton kicked out, and she eventually hit the prettiest moonsault ever to pick up the victory. I thought one of the times when they were outside the ring, when Bayley and Roxanne Perez had words that Stratton would somehow get back in the ring, the ref would be distracted, and Roxanne Perez would cost Bayley the match. That didn't happen. Stratton hit that moonsault, got the victory, she left, and then I figured, she's leaving. Roxanne Perez will attack Bayley. That didn't happen either. I was very surprised by that ending. I wish that match didn't go outside the ring, like I said so many times. But that is SmackDown. Going to take a quick little break, and I'll be right back here on Markin Out.
He looks like a fan of Jericho. This is Markin Out, man!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Markin Out, episode 728. Going back to last week's AEW Collision. Kicked off with Edge picking up the victory over Big Bill. A lot of this happened outside the ring. And for some reason, it didn't matter. I didn't mind it too much. This was a good match for Big Bill. He literally controlled a majority of this match. I like when he ducked the spear from Edge and hit that big boot. Earlier, Chris Jericho had argued with the referee and Big Bill ripped off the turnbuckle pad. I thought that would come into play a lot more than it actually did, but it really didn't. Edge ended up choking Big Bill out, and then the Learning Tree jumped Edge afterwards, and FTR made the save. You had Pac pick up the victory over Commander. Commander won the Ring of Honor TV Championship last month, and I think he needs more wins on TV. If you're going to have that Ring of Honor championship on AEW television, you need to be winning those matches. Also, Pac is a trios champion in AEW, and they have not done anything with those titles since November. In my head, I can't recall them the last time that they even mentioned that they were trios champions. This match I thought was decent. There were some bits and pieces where I was like, ugh, this is not my cup of tea. But I think they definitely need to do more with Pac. I think they need to do more with Commander. Wheeler Yuta and Claudio came out to attack Commander afterwards. The Outrunners made the save. You had the Death Riders pick up the victory over the Outrunners. I'd say this was a filler match, but they're in a storyline with the Death Riders. They're in a storyline with FTR. They're kind of in a storyline with Rock and Roll Express. Rock and Roll Express has not been mentioned at all. Wheeler Yuta crotched Turbo Floyd on the top rope. Claudio was able to hit a gut wrench from the middle rope. And then a rocket launcher with Wheeler Yuta to pick up that victory. Mariah May picked up the victory over Harley Cameron. For what this match was, I thought it was good. I feel like they could have done so much more with this match, but it was very entertaining. I liked that Harley Cameron reversed the Storm Zero with a jackknife, but Mariah May ends up rocking her with a knee, and then she hits Storm Zero to pick up that win. I don't think Harley Cameron should have been up and walking right after that, though. I feel like she should have been down selling the Storm Zero. You had Brody King pick up the victory over Trevor Blackwell. Very quick match, but I wish it was Julia Hart wrestling here instead of Brody. Backstage, Edge randomly spoke to Brody King afterwards and told him that he respects him. He respects Julia. He respects Buddy Matthews. No mention of Malachi Black. So it seems like we won't be seeing Malachi Black again in AEW. And Edge said that he wanted to be in a group with them and that it's time for Brody to step up and take the reins. So it seems like we're going to be seeing a new House of Black pretty soon. I don't think Edge is going to be a leader of it. We saw Daniel Garcia pick up the victory over Shibata to retain the championship. They had a lot of good back and forth and good reversals in this match, but I didn't need to see this match. Especially since Daniel Garcia, all he does is win with a jackknife pin, always. I think that's so goofy. It's match after match after match with a jackknife pin. If you're doing a pin like that, to me it should be like a once in a blue moon sort of situation. It should be an unexpected victory where you're getting a jackknife pin victory. It should not be week after week after week. That, to me, makes the opponent look very weak. Why do you go into this match not expecting a jackknife pin? That makes the opponent look weak. You had Chris Jericho pick up the victory over Dax Harwood. This almost immediately went to the outside. And much like that Edge and Big Bill match, it wasn't the last time that they went out. It happened a lot in this match. And in this match, it annoyed me. Chris Jericho grabbed the Ring of Honor Championship, tried to hit Dax with it. He blocked it. They did one of the worst 9-count spots I've ever seen, where Dax slips off the apron or whatever. I hated that. It didn't look realistic at all. And then Chris Jericho tried to use the title later on again. The referee ducks it. Nowhere near him, he ducks it. And Dax moved out of the way. He turned it into a backdrop. And then instead of going to get the title, the goofy referee went up to Chris Jericho. Jericho puts his hands up. It was almost like an attempted shoving. It was obviously supposed to be what it was, what commentary called it. It was obviously supposed to be like a rake of the eye or something. And then Jericho used the title on Dax. Dax kicked out. I don't know why they had him kick out, only to have him get up and get hit with the Judas effect. I think in any case with Chris Jericho, a title would be more effective than the Judas effect. If Chris Jericho was somebody like Lola Vice, then I would understand it. But you don't need to have him get knocked out. How light was your tap of a title if he's not down for the 3 count? I don't get that. Then you had the Learning Tree attack Dax. Edge and Cash ran down to make the save. Then the Death Riders showed up, and it led to the Outrunners showing up. It came down to Jon Moxley. It came down to Edge, where Jon Moxley was about to stomp Edge onto a chair. Powerhouse Hobbs ran down. Jon Moxley ran, and Marina Shafir stood in Powerhouse's way. Wheeler Yuta jumped onto him, and Powerhouse Hobbs put him through the commentary table. It somehow sets up a very goofy 12-man tag team match for Collision this week, which I'll speak about next week. Meanwhile, you had an AEW World Title Championship match to promote. Why would you announce that match before you announced, or before there was even a definitive victor for the AEW Championship? That made no sense to me. AEW Dynamite, I forget where they were this week. The venue, it was a very small venue. It looked fantastic. There's another smaller venue coming up in AEW's lineup. That venue inside looks really cool. I think if you are, depending on the prices, if you are in town while they're in town, 100% I feel like you should go see it, depending on the price. You had Kenny Omega open the show to pick up the victory over Brian Cage. This was Kenny's first match in AEW since beating Ethan Page back in 2023. I know for Brian Cage, this was a big match, but I don't think this was the right first opponent for Kenny. Especially since I think Brian Cage needs victories right now. He at least controlled the whole match. I think that kind of makes Kenny Omega look terrible until his actual comeback. Before that, you had Lance Archer and Don Callis get involved. Some of the spots from Kenny Omega were sloppy. And I feel like he wasn't like this in his match with Gabe Kidd. So I thought that was very strange. You had Don Callis' family attack Kenny Omega afterwards. Will Ospreay made the save. Then Takeshita showed up. That whole aftermath segment I feel like went too long. But it looks like we're going to be seeing Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher versus Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay at AEW Grand Slam Down Under. You had Ricochet come out for an interview, or I guess to speak. And the fans chanted for Swerve. They booed Ricochet. And then he showed a picture of him stabbing Swerve from the other week. Prince Nana showed up from behind and attacked Ricochet, took him out with the chair, and Ricochet went down for it. I feel like that just adds to how bad he looked last week. And then he ends up running when Swerve comes out with a chain, which I would swear to God sets up a chain match or something between Swerve and Ricochet for Grand Slam. But it's taking place in Atlanta, Georgia for some reason with no stipulation. You had the Hurt Business pick up the victory over Mark Briscoe and Private Party. This does absolutely nothing for the tag team championships. If anything, it proves that the Hurt Business should be a trios team. And it proves that they should be going after the trios championships and not the tag team championships. I was very surprised to see MVP in this match. I thought when it was announced they would have a new member of the Hurt Business, but that wasn't the case. Mark Briscoe wrestled a lot of this match, and the Hurt Business really ultimately makes the Private Party look like nobodies. Like I said, that does not do anything for the tag team championships. You had Jeff Jarrett come out, immediately interrupted by MJF. He called Double J the pro wrestling Grim Reaper. And he made fun of Jeff Jarrett for being in recovery. He said he should send him back to rehab. MJF went super low. Jeff Jarrett, in order to play MJF's games, I guess, went lower. And he spoke about MJF's parents, his girlfriend. This was a complete waste of time. And honestly, wrestling should be well beyond whatever they touched on in this segment. Literally everything that they touched on in this segment should be like out of pro wrestling in 2025. There's no reason for it at all. MJF basically said everything successful in AEW in recent years, like All In at Wembley, was because of him. And nobody's ever cared about Jeff Jarrett. When he brought up Owen Hart, that's when Jeff Jarrett pounced on him and they brawled a little bit. Dustin Rhodes backstage spoke to Double J and said that he's fully behind Jeff Jarrett and he wants him to win that championship. That whole segment could have been another women's match. Or it could have just been the gauntlet match. Added time for that match. Yeah, after that, you cut to Hook picking up the victory over Christian via disqualification. This match didn't need to happen either. Save this for another time. Hook attacked Christian during the entrance. In order to maybe try to save face, Christian hugs Hook. Hook's obviously not having any of that. Christian hit a bunch of splashes. Hook still kicks out. Christian eventually called for Kip Sabian and Nick Wayne to come out and attack him. They grab chairs. And before a concerto, Taz stood up. He went to get in the ring, kind of. And Samoa Joe finally returned after, I think it was 6 months after he got put through drywall. But Shibata showed up also. Seems like we're going to see a trios match between these three. 6, I should say. But it's nice to see Samoa Joe back in AEW on television. He had Tony Storm win the Casino Gauntlet to become number one contender, to go on to AEW Grand Slam, down under to face Mariah May. You had Chris Statlander and Jamie Hayter start. Megan Bayne showed up. I thought that was cool. Everything that she did in the ring with everybody, I thought was very well done. She came out looking like a star. If she's signed to AEW, I don't necessarily know if I would have had her debut in that capacity, but she looked great. Julia Hart came out. Jamie Hayter went right after her. Willow Nightingale was in this. Like I said, obviously Tony Storm was out next. Harley Cameron was in this. She got misted by Julia Hart at one point. And Tony Storm ends up getting a quick victory over Julia Hart, I think it was. Overall, I think it was an entertaining match. The outcome was beyond obvious. And then not having people like Deonna Purrazzo, Hikaru Shida, Anna Jay, I think that's very surprising. Ty Mello just made her return to wrestling after, what was it, like 2 years or something? She wasn't included in this. I know people expected Billy Starks or Athena. That, I understand them not being in it, but Deonna Purrazzo, man, she 100% should have been in this match. I really wish this match had more time. This was the most entertaining match on Dynamite. You had the main event. Jon Moxley picked up the victory over Powerhouse Hobbs to retain the AEW Championship. This went into the crowd. The referee, actually, it looked like he went in after them to make them go back to the ring. So kudos to that. Hobbs ends up biting Jon Moxley's earring out. And Jon Moxley bled from that. So that was gross. Marina Shafir got involved. Wheeler Yuta got involved. Mox eventually choked Powerhouse Hobbs out. Overall, to me, that match was boring. It really didn't do anything. The aftermath, you have the Death Riders attack Powerhouse. Rated FTR chased them off after the freaking damage was done. Obviously, I guess that pushes the big 12-man tag match. But outside of that battle royal, man, I think this was a dud episode. That Kenny Omega match was not what I expected it to be at all. So that was very unfortunate. That is AEW Dynamite. Hey, Brandon, got any shout-outs?
This is Droopy Dog, and you're listening to Brandon's Shoutouts.
The first shout out goes to Goosebumps The Vanishing. Season 2 is out now on Disney Plus. And since it's an anthology, there's a whole new cast, which David Schwimmer stars in it, Anna Ortiz. Schwimmer plays a father who has twins visit him on, I guess, technically a vacation. And they enter an abandoned fort that supposedly is haunted. And it sets off a chain of things that leads to, I guess, answers from a mystery that had been unsolved for 30 years. And I thought season 1 was very well done. And David Schwimmer's, he's basically in a very similar spot to how Justin Long was in season 1. But both of them, I think, knocked it out of the park. The full season's out right now. I do think they could have done more with this season, because I enjoyed the first season more. But I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing a season 3.
I'm not too familiar with the show, but I've seen the commercial. It looks entertaining.
Well, I mean, you've seen Goosebumps. You've read Goosebumps. It's Goosebumps.
I don't even remember if I read Goosebumps.
There's no way.
I don't remember any of them.
I mean, there's no way you weren't a kid that didn't. Well, what did you read as a kid?
I don't remember.
Animorphs? The dictionary?
I don't know.
Well, my next shout out
Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Yeah. My next shout out goes to On Call, which came out on Amazon Prime last week. It's a Dick Wolf production that follows a police veteran training officer and her rookie in Long Beach, California. It reminds me a bit of the show Southland with Michael Cutlitz and Ben McKenzie. I also saw some people comparing this to The Shield, but I never saw that, so I can't say how close it is to The Shield.
Mm-hmm.
Lori Loughlin plays a lieutenant on this show. Eric LaSalle is a sergeant. Troy Belisario and Brandon Laraquente are the two main characters that it follows. The professional reviewers did not like this show. The overall audience that were leaving reviews were like, I really don't understand how these professional reviewers watch any product with such negative reviews. I enjoyed this show. It's a 30-minute drama instead of an hour like most of these sort of genre shows are. And the episodes fly by. I hope it has another season to it. So if you have Amazon Prime and you like Law & Order or ER or any of those shows, SVU, I'd say check it out. My last shout out goes to Sam Moore, who unfortunately passed away at the age of 89 last week. He was one half of the R&B and soul duo Sam and Dave, and their influence on the music industry goes so deep. From Bruce Springsteen to Michael Jackson to Billy Joel, the Blues Brothers, John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, sparked a resurgence of their popularity when they did a cover of Soul Man with SNL. Sam Moore also, by the way, was in Blues Brothers 2000, if you watch that movie. Another big hit of theirs was Hold On, I'm Coming. And a lot of their songs were co-written by Isaac Hayes. Basically, some form of Booker T and the MGs with the marquee horns. They all played on those albums. But whenever I'm asked for my favorite concert that I've been to, I will almost always say that it's almost always the 25th anniversary of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, night one. And during Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band set, they played 10th Avenue Freeze Out, and then they take like a beat and went into Hold On, I'm Coming. And I marked the absolute heck out for that because that's one of my favorite songs. And then Bruce Springsteen brought Sam Moore out on stage, and they performed that. That went into Soul Man. Had me marking out even more. And it was truly one of the best moments at a concert that I've ever witnessed live. And the energy that I get from listening to Sam and Dave, it's like indescribable. And if you've never heard of Sam and Dave, go listen to them this weekend. I know there are people out there who don't know Sam and Dave, but to me it's like almost unbelievable because their music is so like iconic. So please go check out Sam and Dave if you don't know their music.
I mean, I've always been such a fan of the Blues Brothers version of Soul Man, but this original version is incredible too. And
also all the people that were writing on Sam and Dave albums play with the Blues Brothers. So there's all like that crossover aspect to it. So definitely check them out. Those are my shout outs. Now it's time for our
Mark Out Moment of the Week.
That is right, our Mark Out Moment of the Week. I watched The Legend of Baron Toa, which stars Uli Latakefu, who played The Rock on Young Rock. And I thought this was going to be like a wrestling movie, and it kind of is, but it's not what I was expecting from a wrestling movie because he ends up in the championship that his father had won or whatever was stolen from the house, and he was only flying back to sell the father's house. The father had passed away, and it ends where he needs to, in order to get that championship back, he it's like a street fight. So it's definitely not like pro wrestling, even though it's supposed to be pro wrestling, I guess. But the actors that played Alpha and Sika on Young Rock are also in this movie. All three of them, obviously, this movie, it was before Young Rock even existed, so it's cool to see them all together in a project. But the reason why this was part of my Mark Out Moment of the Week was because of the music. Right at the beginning of the movie, a song played. It's Ready or Not by Church and AP, and I had to look it up because I was like, this has to be a coincidence. I mean, this can't be a coincidence. It came out in 2018. It samples Too Cool's Turn It Up. And it's like, as soon as you hear that Turn It Up, like you know what that is.
Yeah.
So it was really random to hear Too Cool's theme song sampled in this new song, or newer song, I should say. But if you want to watch that movie, it's also out on Peacock. Like I said, it's The Legend of Baron Toa. Not exactly what I expected from the film, but still cool to hear that music in there.
Of course. And then, I mean, you have been a huge mark for Too Cool. Didn't you used to dance to them too?
Of course, absolutely. I would. I mean, even when Triple H opened up Monday Night Raw last week and the curtain dropped and he's looking down, who knows if he was about to dance like Rikishi and Too Cool? Who knew?
I think I have a picture of me, like, looking down, getting ready to do the Too Cool dance.
And I love the Too Cool shirt. I remember the WWF magazine cover with the three of them on it. My what grade was I in at that time? Either 4th or 5th grade art teacher. I had him draw it for me. And that was really cool.
That's cool.
And then I ruined it by coloring it in. But he did that one for me and a picture of the APA.
Huh. That's pretty cool that he did that for you.
Yeah. Which, thinking about it now, probably not the smartest idea for him to have done the APA one. I remember it was a picture where, well, I mean, it's not terrible, but Bradshaw had Farouk probably had it also. They had the cigars and everything. Mm-hmm. I feel like maybe that wouldn't be appropriate for a 5th grader to have.
I don't know. I would be okay. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, if you look at like the Looney Tunes, how many times did you see?
That's true. Yeah.
Bugs Bunny with
always
the cigar.
had cigars. Yeah.
Right.
And then outside of that, you have any other mark out moments? Because I think collectively,
I mean, for me, it was probably the V trigger that Kenny Omega did. On AEW.
Okay.
No, I think everything with Penta. Yeah. I also did mark out for, I believe it was the night. I saw a clip. I may have seen it before, but I don't remember. I guess that's the benefit of not me remembering things as well. In 1993, the WWF recording their commercial.
I probably sent that to you when they released it.
I don't remember, but
because it was a few weeks ago.
Huh?
It was a few weeks ago on WWE Vault.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. You may have sent it, but I didn't watch it.
Oh,
sorry. But all of them, it's when they were recording everything on the rooftop, and it's so cool. You see Yokozuna, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Scott Hall, Nash, all of these people, Fatu.
I saw somebody say that one segment in there, was it Dan Spivey in there? I think it might have been Dan Spivey.
Yeah, Dan Spivey would.
I think they said that specific moment led to him never wrestling again.
Why?
I forget what it was. Something with the tickets. He was just like, nah, I'm good. I think. Something like that. That's such a Waylon Mercy thing. I think he was like burnt out or something. And that, like seeing all the tickets of the flights, the upcoming flights for him.
Uh-huh.
I think that like he was just like, nah, I'm good.
Wow. Good for him. You know, he recognized that he was going to get burnt out from the schedule and was just like, you know what?
I think I just that's a story I heard. I don't know if that's true
interesting.
Or not.
Yeah, I did think that. Like I saw Waylon Mercy in that boardroom, and I'm like, huh, that's really interesting because I maybe I don't remember him in a video for wrestling like that.
It says because his last match was a win over Bob Holly in Germany.
Huh. Yeah, he was an interesting character, which I think if wrestlers trying to learn how to cut promos like Bray Wyatt, you got to watch Waylon Mercy promos.
But it says he retired due to injury, so I don't know how true that story was there. But
yeah, who knows? But yeah, I thought I can't help but watch that video and see Mr. Fuji and be like seeing him around Yokozuna and be like, I feel like they would be the most fun crew to hang out with, Yokozuna and Mr. Fuji, or even just Mr. Fuji. Like Mr. Fuji, the camera's just panning to him, and he's just randomly looking at the camera and just smiles.
Yeah.
Like, he just seems like a lovable character.
But in regards to Penta finally being in WWE, it's crazy to see somebody that I've watched for almost, I guess, a year shy of the amount of time that we've been doing this podcast. I think it was like 13 years that I saw Penta. I don't remember what month it was, but it was in 2012 where they had that big match in AAA where he debuted debuted as Pentagon Jr. because they had Samurai del Sol, Kalisto was Octagon Jr. And they had them, obviously it's like natural rivals in that company, so they did that. So it was really cool to see Penta succeed on the level of WWE and kill it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this gets WWE gets the footage to Lucha Underground or something, perhaps, and
that would be fantastic. You know, I was just watching the Lucha Underground stuff and him having history of so many of the women on the roster right now is entertaining
Chelsea,
itself.
EO. Yeah. So, thank you so much for checking out Markin Out episode 728. You can follow us on Twitter at Markin Out, at BTTG161 on all platforms. Chris Sweendog, CM Sweeney85, David PTDPT on all platforms. Facebook.com/Markin Out, YouTube and Instagram Markin Out 11, Pro WrestlingTees.com/Markin Out. For now, TikTok at Markin Out. Fingers are so freaking crossed.
Mm-hmm.
Follow us on TikTok. Check us out, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Like I said, you can listen on YouTube. You can listen on markinout.com. We wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors. Have a fantastic week.